Chilling disappearance. What happened to Sasha Samsudean? She was safe in her downtown apartment, secure entryways, surveillance cameras, and a 24-hour security guard on duty. But one night, everything changed. What started as a normal evening turned into a chilling mystery when Sasha never made it out of her home alive. Behind the building's locked doors, someone was watching, waiting, and planning. The case would leave investigators stunned, not just by the brutality of the crime, but by who might have had access and how. Surveillance footage, digital footprints, and a single crucial mistake would unravel a terrifying chain of events. Who could have bypassed security measures with such ease? What was their motive? And how close had they been all along? Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear will change the way you look at security forever. Sasha Samsudean was just 27, full of life, energy, and big dreams. She was a social media manager for an Orlando real estate agency, a job she loved and thrived in. On the surface, she was stunning. Bright blue eyes, a radiant smile. But anyone who spent more than 5 minutes with her knew Sasha was more than just looks. Sharp, quick-witted, and driven, she was the kind of woman who made things happen. Her co-workers admired her. At 407apartments.com, Sasha didn't just handle social media, she owned it. She was well-versed in every aspect of marketing and every trend. Friends described her as someone who worked hard, played harder, and never wasted a day. Her calendar stayed packed with dinners, soccer games, and weekend getaways. Sasha lived life full throttle. Not long before everything changed, Sasha had moved into a new apartment at Uptown Place Apartments on North Orange Avenue. It was modern, sleek, and felt like a fresh start. She had plans, bigger dreams, but life had other plans that night. The city was buzzing that evening. It was the final day of the Orlando soccer season. Sasha showed up dressed in purple, proudly supporting her team. When the match ended in victory, it was celebration mode. Drinks flowed, music boomed, and Sasha and her friends headed straight to the Attic nightclub on East Pine Street. They danced, laughed, and raised their glasses in celebration of another win. Hours flew by. Somewhere past midnight, Sasha decided it was time to call it a night. She leaned over to her friend Anthony and told him she was heading out. No drama, no goodbyes. It's just one of those casual moments everyone assumes is temporary.
She told her friend Anthony that she was heading home, which she did, and made plans to meet up with him the next morning.
After all, friends split up in the middle of the night all the time. Some head home, others to the next spot. Anthony didn't think twice. They had plans to grab breakfast the next morning, and she'd be there. She always was. Morning came, but Sasha didn't. Anthony waited at the cafe, scrolling through his phone, expecting her to show up any minute. Maybe she was running late. Maybe she was sleeping off the night before. But minutes turned into an hour. Calls went unanswered. Texts sat on read or, worse, never delivered. Before we continue, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe. It will help more people hear stories that matter, stories people are too scared to talk about. It wasn't like Sasha to go silent. Not her. She practically lived online. Social media updates, Snapchats, and Instagram stories are constant. But that morning, there was nothing. Her accounts were frozen in time from the night before. Anthony tried to shake off the growing sense of dread. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she crashed somewhere. But somewhere deep down, that quiet voice everyone tries to ignore started whispering. Something was wrong. Hours dragged by. No Sasha. Friends began texting each other, asking if anyone had heard from her. The night before replayed in everyone's mind. She left the attic alone. Alone. How often do women leave bars trusting that the short walk home is safe? Will the security guards, cameras, and gates be effective in protecting them? The world teaches women to watch their drinks, text when they get home, and carry pepper spray. But what happens when the danger is someone paid to protect you? By late afternoon, Anthony's worry turned into panic. Sasha's family was called. Nobody had seen her, and nobody had heard a word. Her friends scoured social media and usual hangouts, even calling local hospitals. Nothing. That night should have been another fun memory. Instead, it became the moment Sasha Samsudean vanished. Anthony couldn't sit around waiting anymore. Something inside him knew this wasn't just a hangover or a lazy Sunday morning. He called two friends and together they drove straight to Sasha's apartment complex, hoping they were overthinking everything. The second they pulled into the parking lot, their hope started to fade. Sasha's car was still there. They noticed a gift bag in the back seat, a present she had planned to take to a baby shower that day. It sat untouched, almost frozen in time. Heart racing, Anthony rushed up to her apartment, Unit 345. They pounded on the door, shouting her name, but no sound came from inside. Not a single movement. That's when Anthony dialed 911. The police and building security arrived around 8 p.m. for a welfare check. They unlocked the door and stepped inside. Nothing looked out of place. The living room was neat and the kitchen was spotless. There were no signs of forced entry or a struggle, but the silence was suffocating. Then they reached Sasha's bedroom, and everything changed. An officer spotted strands of hair peeking from beneath the comforter. A hand hung limply off the side of the bed. At that moment, they knew Sasha was gone. What followed was even more horrific. Sasha had been raped, beaten, and strangled. Deep bruises and finger marks circled her neck. Her arms were covered in defensive wounds. She had fought hard. There were abrasions where someone had grabbed and restrained her. Her necklace was tangled in her hair, ripped from her neck. Her shirt and bra were torn open. Her underwear was forcibly removed, leaving marks that told a story no one wanted to hear. Friends, family, and co-workers couldn't name anyone who'd want to hurt her. No ex-boyfriend, no jealous rival, nothing. Yet something felt off. Her purse, phone, and key fob were all gone. The air in the bedroom reeked of cleaning products. Bleach stains dotted the sheets. Her cleaning supplies cabinet was wide open, like someone had rifled through it. Police noticed one more thing. Her toilet seat was up. Strange, considering Sasha lived alone. Near the bed, they found a condom wrapper, a single shoe print. When they swabbed under the toilet seat, they found 2 fingerprints. DNA samples were taken from Sasha's body. Later, the medical examiner revealed something chilling. He had never seen a neck fracture that brutal in his entire career. Along with the DNA and fingerprints, police turned to another crucial piece of the puzzle: the building's 15 security cameras. Uptown Place wasn't just Sasha's new home. It had its own set of eyes. And that night, someone had been watching. Stephen Duxbury had worked there as a security guard for about 5 months. He told officers he saw Sasha return early that morning, but he said she had no ID or key fob to get inside. Duxbury claimed he never let her in. Instead, he said Sasha managed to slip through when another resident opened the door. His version didn't stop there. Duxbury explained that once inside, he went looking for her. He said she seemed confused, struggling to unlock her apartment door. When he finally found her, she was trying to punch in her passcode but kept failing. Sasha, he said, asked if he could walk her to her car to check for her keys. They stepped outside together. But just as quickly, Sasha turned around, telling him she suddenly remembered the code and didn't need help anymore. She disappeared back inside. Duxbury claimed he left it at that.
Kind of nervous because we don't really know how she was killed or if we should be concerned that there's someone dangerous living in our building.
Later, though, his story shifted. He told police he spotted Sasha again, but she wasn't alone this time. She was walking through the building with a man Duxbury didn't recognize. No name, no details, just that there was someone else. Now the police had to find out who this mystery man was. Fast. They pulled security footage from the streets leading back to the nightclub Sasha left earlier that night. Even in the buzz of a crowded downtown, the walk from the attic to her apartment building was only about half an hour. And there she was, caught on several cameras, wearing white jeans and a bright purple top, easily spotted even in the night's chaos. One camera caught something more. Sasha wasn't always walking alone. For a short time, she was seen with 2 women. That footage became the police's next lead. A press release asked anyone who'd been with Sasha that night to come forward. To their relief, the women responded. They explained they'd found Sasha wandering, drunk and vulnerable, without a phone or ID. Concerned for her safety, they ordered an Uber to get her home. But things didn't go as planned. The moment the Uber hit a red light near Uptown Place, Sasha jumped out, pointing at the building and insisting that was where she lived. The 2 women followed, watching as she struggled to get inside. Without her key fob, the doors wouldn't budge. That's when Stephen Duxbury approached. They explained their worries, how Sasha wasn't safe out here alone. But Duxbury stayed firm. No ID, no entry. They pushed, asking what would happen to her now. Before Duxbury could answer, a random resident walked by and opened the door, and Sasha slipped inside. It was the last time anyone outside that building saw her alive. After Sasha slipped inside Uptown Place, Stephen stayed back for a few minutes, still talking with the two women who had helped her. Eventually, he made his way back inside the building. He told the police he wanted to check on Sasha to ensure she was all right. As investigators pieced together the night, everyone's stories matched. But that wasn't enough. They needed solid footage and witnesses inside Uptown Place to determine what happened next. While searching Sasha's apartment, police found her iPad. They could access some of her data since it was synced with her missing iPhone. This led them to a string of text messages from that night. One stood out. Sasha had sent a simple text at 5:12 in the morning to a man named Ben. It was just his name, nothing else. It was the last thing sent from any of her devices. Ben was someone Sasha had dated before. They had been planning to see each other that weekend and had exchanged messages earlier that night. At one point, Ben invited her to another party, but after that last message, there was nothing more. Ben agreed to give the police his DNA without hesitation. He also had a rock-solid alibi, so investigators cleared him. They moved on to another man named Taylor. He and Sasha had been together for 2 years. Even after their breakup, they stayed in touch. Taylor told detectives that they might end up back together one day. That night, Taylor was working a bar shift. Many witnesses backed him up, and he was ruled out once his DNA was tested. In the days after Sasha's body was discovered, friends, family, and co-workers gathered to say their goodbyes. Her funeral blended Hindu, Islamic, and Christian traditions, honoring every part of who she was. One co-worker remembered knowing she was loved, but never realizing how many lives she had touched until she saw the massive crowd at her service. Meanwhile, detectives finally obtained the apartment complex's security footage. The system had saved everything off-site, but now it was time to review every detail. One camera caught Sasha walking into the building at exactly 1:46 in the morning. Moments later, an unknown man followed her inside and asked if she was okay. The footage showed Sasha climbing the stairs alone until she vanished from view. Nearly 20 minutes passed before another camera picked her up again, this time running up another flight of stairs. Seconds later, Stephen Duxbury appeared behind her on the same staircase. Then came another moment that lined up with his story. Around 2:25 in the morning, Duxbury walked with Sasha toward the first-floor parking lot. He claimed they were going to check her car for her keys. Sasha told Stephen she remembered the code. The two walked back inside. While police still worked to find the unknown man seen following Sasha, their search stalled. Sasha never appeared in any other footage after that. Detectives contacted the public, asking anyone who had seen Sasha or anyone near the building after 1:46 a.m. to speak up. Nobody came forward. Determined not to miss anything, investigators reviewed every camera feed from Uptown Place again. Hours of footage passed with nothing new. Then at 6:36 a.m., something caught their attention. A familiar face appeared on the screen. Stephen Duxbury was leaving the second floor, carrying 2 large trash bags. He walked into the parking garage where his car was parked. By 6:38 a.m., he was back inside. Stephen had told the police his shift ended at 6 that morning, but there he was, still moving around the building nearly 40 minutes later. At first, officers wondered if taking out trash was part of his duties. It was not. Detectives looked closer at the bags. They matched the ones from Sasha's apartment. That was enough to push the investigation forward. A search warrant for Stephen's home was quickly secured. He was also called in for a polygraph test. During the test, Stephen was asked if he had ever been inside Sasha's apartment. He said no. The test showed clear signs of deception. Then came the question about Sasha's death. Did he know how she died? The examiner listed possibilities: poison, stab wounds, choking. But when choking was mentioned, Stephen's heart rate spiked. That question hit differently. The cause of Sasha's death had not been shared publicly. There was no reason for Stephen to react unless he knew something he should not. The polygraph results could not be used in court, but police now had more reason to dig deeper. At Stephen's home, detectives found shoes identical to the print inside Sasha's bedroom. 3 days later, forensic tests confirmed the thumbprint from under Sasha's toilet seat matched Stephen's right thumb. DNA results from Sasha's chest also pointed to him. Then came another discovery. Stephen's phone history revealed a search made around 5 a.m. He had looked up how to override a quickset keypad lock, the exact type Sasha had on her apartment door. That search happened hours after Sasha was last seen on camera. The timing of Stephen's internet search became even more unsettling when detectives realized it happened just minutes before Sasha sent that last strange message to Ben. Only his name, nothing else. There was more. Stephen had a bite mark on his forearm and scratches on his body, signs of a struggle. It's hard to imagine the man who walked the halls as a protector, who had helped police early on, was the same person responsible for what happened.
We have an update now on a high-profile murder case. We're talking about the security guard accused of raping and killing a woman at her Uptown Place apartment in downtown Orlando.
On October 17th, police made it official. Sasha Samsudean was found murdered in her apartment. That same day, detectives arrested Stephen Duxbury. He was charged with first-degree murder, sexual battery, and burglary. Authorities said Stephen used his position as a security guard to target Sasha. He saw her return that night and decided to act. What was supposed to be a job built on trust became a cover for something darker. Investigators believed he broke into her apartment, assaulted her, and then killed her. Afterwards, he grabbed her cleaning supplies and tried to wipe away any trace of his actions. Then he took the evidence from the apartment straight to his car. His trial started in November 2017, with Judge Lisa Munyon leading the case. From the start, Stephen's lawyers argued he only talked to the police because he thought it was required. They pushed to have those interviews removed from the trial. The defense tried to block the polygraph statements and the shoes found at Stephen's home. Those shoes matched the prints found near Sasha's body. They argued these pieces were weak, based on speculation, and should never reach the jury. But the state pushed back. It was too late. The judge agreed. The evidence stayed. Legal analysts described it as piecing together a puzzle. Every scrap mattered. Without those pieces, proving guilt would be harder. Once jury selection began, the defense had no more chances to remove the evidence. They could only object as it came up in court. Stephen was accused of rape and murder. What happened inside that apartment in 2015 would now be laid bare before a jury. Stephen's claim that he had never stepped inside Sasha's apartment crumbled against the forensic evidence. His defense attorney, Aaron Delgado, tried pointing out the investigation's cracks. He questioned why Stephen's clothes were never tested for DNA. He argued that the shoe prints at the scene matched a size 9 pair from Stephen's apartment, yet Stephen claimed he wore a size 10.5. The defense also leaned heavily on the missing surveillance footage. There was no video placing Stephen inside her, apart from a clear shot of him walking through that door. Still, prosecutors stayed firm. They reminded the court that cases built on circumstantial evidence could be just as strong. DNA had already placed him where he swore he never went. There was more. That suspicious Google search of the trash bags carried out early that morning told the same story. No camera was needed when the evidence spoke louder. When asked about the abrasions found on Sasha's inner thighs and lower body, the medical examiner didn't hesitate. The injuries could have come from a utility or security belt during intercourse. The defense tried to shift blame, floating the theory that someone else might have broken in after Sasha and Stephen had consensual sex. Prosecutor William J. didn't entertain the idea for long. He said the body in the crime scene didn't lie. The verdict came after 7 days in court and just 4 hours of jury deliberation. Stephen Duxbury was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He received another 15 years for attempted sexual battery and burglary with assault. Judge Lisa Munyon made it clear the sentences would run one after the other. When the judge gave Stephen a chance to speak, he stayed silent. In the back row, his mother sat through it all. Sasha's parents took a moment to acknowledge her pain, knowing she lost a child that day too. Sasha's mother, Tara, did not hold back her anger at how the defense tried to drag her daughter's name through the mud, which cut deep. Tara spoke of the birthdays she would never celebrate, the wedding aisle Sasha's father would never walk her down. Every wedding since had been a bitter reminder of what they lost. The family wasn't finished. A lawsuit had already been filed against the apartment complex and the security company that hired Stephen. The 102-page filing accused them of ignoring other tenants' complaints about Stephen's behavior. Even the company that made the lock on Sasha's door was named. The cracks in the system were wide open. The Samsudean family's fight didn't end with Stephen's sentencing. Their attorney pushed to prove that the apartment's lock had failed Sasha. Spectrum Brands claimed there was no way to test the lock at a hearing because police never collected it, and the apartment owner tossed it when a new tenant moved in. Without the lock, they argued, no one could prove a defect led to Sasha's death. Sasha's attorney fired back, pointing to reports showing how easy it was to break that lock with a screwdriver. Spectrum stayed silent when it mattered most. In 2019, Stephen tried appealing his conviction, claiming the court wrongly allowed his statements and denied his motion for acquittal. The appeal went nowhere. Ken and Tara Samsudean carried their grief into action. They partnered with the Orange County Sheriff's Office, guiding other families facing the same nightmare. Tara, once a trauma nurse, struggled to return to work, but found strength listening to victim stories at local support events. Sasha was remembered as full of life and love, a bright soul who left a mark wherever she went. Her family and friends held on to that energy, refusing to let it fade. Sasha Samsudean's story is a haunting reminder that the people we're taught to trust, the ones hired to protect us, can sometimes be the very threat we never see coming. No family should ever have to fight this hard for justice, and no woman should ever feel unsafe in her own home. If this case moves you, don't stay silent. Share Sasha's story. Raise your voice for the victims who will never be able to speak again. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications because we're not done exposing the system's cracks. Together, we demand change and keep their stories alive.